have you ever wondered, how does that band, how does that artist get gigs? If you were in that position, I just want to let you know, I hear you. And guess what? There are answers. You don't need to be in that. So stick around. I want to go over a few key things that you need to have in place in order to start booking gigs. And so, let's go. So I can so recall finishing college, guys, spending thousands of dollars in college only to be like, how do I do that? I wonder, how do I even go about where to audition? Because I was in theater at that time, right? Musical theater was my thing. And, you know, I have enough sense to kind of go, local theaters, let me start to go there. But like, man, I think about it and like, that is my passion in helping artists so much. Just like as a little side note, is I just can recall sitting there and being like, okay, I'm bartending, but like, I'm not doing what I want to do. And like, how do I even do that, right? And so I feel like a lot of colleges and institutions can be really, really great at helping you refine your craft. But like, refining your craft without understanding the business side of things is not going to feed you, right? So we need to be able to really look at the two areas and be able to equally dedicate time. Unless you have a manager, unless you have, you know, someone who's kind of aiding you or acting as that manager, it's going to be you doing it. And so that's one way to kind of filter out if this is something for you. It may not always be that way. It might be that you eventually bring on people, but you have to consider the fact that you're going to want to wear a couple different hats: the creator hat, the artist hat, and then the business hat. And so some really quick tips, and I do have a whole course that dives into everything that you need to know. Legit, guys, it is amazing. From emails to what kind of equipment to different kinds of fairs and festivals and all of that stuff. And I can link that below if that is something of interest to you. Trust me, you will get your money back from that. But even before you start to think about emails and where to do this, I just want to go over a couple key things that I think you need to think about and have in place in order to really start to go about looking at booking gigs. First and foremost, I would highly encourage that you get yourself with a coach to make sure that you're working on not only your vocals, but your performance. So before we can go and actually start performing, we need to prepare our show, right? It's not just about like, great, I booked the show, but it's like, hey, what is my set list? How long is my set list, right? And if you're going to look at like booking fairs and festivals can vary, but like if you're going to think about like restaurants, which might be your bread and butter through the winter, and like those other spring or days when the fairs and festivals may not be as rampant, then you're going to want to be thinking of like 3 45-minute sets. So you want to come together with that, guys. You want to think about 3 45-minute sets that are highly engaging, look at your area, see other artists, maybe go to a couple of shows, see what's kind of like happening in the scene, and how can you put that together. And on that line, like, are you an acoustic act? Are you gonna, perform with tracks? And if you're gonna perform with tracks, does that work for everywhere? And that you might kind of consider as well. Are you gonna have dancers? Are you going to just really thinking about what is your show? So you can do that independently. But if you're looking, it can be helpful to have someone who's ahead of you or has done it or has experience in that realm who can really help to coach you along that line. And you can always drop us a comment, shoot us a DM, give us a call, and we can help set that up as well. But that being said, that would be my advice on that end. And then thinking of your vocals, right? That's going to carry you. If you're going to play an instrument, like getting that really refined. So that's the first thing that I would say to kind of consider. And then some building blocks, just making sure that you have at least, I always tell people, one solid song, one solid recording of yourself, and not from your phone. This is where you might find a studio, someone that can just give you a polished sounding recording. Because guys, you gotta think of yourself as a business, right? If you were the one being approached, if you had that restaurant, if you had that bar, if you had that festival, like you'd probably start by going, this person's reaching out to me, great, I'm in need of entertainment, but like, what have they done? I'd like to hear them. So you want to start to think about like, what are the pieces that I need, and kind of reverse engineer it a little bit. So on that end, I would say to you, one solid recording. You can also think about like these beautiful one-page websites, right? I love the cleanness of that. And on that, you want just like a couple solid photos. That you could have, hopefully you have a friend or there's a pro in the area. And I'm not talking about, you know, headshots. Headshots are great for musical theater, but they don't work for like artist stuff. You know, you want to really think about, how am I presenting myself as an artist in an image? Maybe you're walking through the forest. Maybe you're up against graffiti. Like, who are you and what best represents that, and having fun. And it doesn't need to be this like headshot. A bio on the website would be great, right? Some things. And if you haven't done much, don't worry. Just like highlight your passion, highlight the best of yourself, and then keep filling it in with the things that you have done. If you have done things, I'd probably put under there a list of your performances, like any accomplishments, places you sang the anthem, places you performed, any training maybe you put in there, any special kind of stuff on that end. I wouldn't say it's so much of like, we could get into like musical theater, and there's a different kind of resume where you would put your training. I think any kind of special thing could go on the website as like an artist, but again, I don't know if the gigs really care about what kind of training you've done as much as like what you've actually done, because they're going to be paying you. That is the goal. And as a side note, guys, yes, in the beginning you might be doing things at a more discounted rate, but like, we as artists need to come together. We need to survive, and people need to be paying properly. So as you build and climb the ladder, do not be afraid to demand more, because you have more value. And this whole paying to play thing is like, there's not much like you get exposure. That's for like a whole nother day. But yeah, like, I think we need to put an end to that, because people are exploiting us artists who are working really hard, and that's not so cool. So those would be a couple of things. Is I would get together, you know, your whole show, your voice. I would get together a nice one-page website with a nice recording on there. And then you can just start from there to look out. And a good little tip is like, look at other artists in your area that are in a similar lane than you, and start to see where they're performing and outreach to those places. But again, I'd make sure you have the other pieces together, because put on the hat of that business and be like, okay, great, like, I'm gonna wanna see something. So I hope this helps you. Again, I have a whole course that really dives deep into this. This was created alongside the talented Whitney Doucette. Between the two of us, we performed at Gillette Stadium. Artists have helped an artist build themselves to a point where they were able to perform with Eminem. We've got people that have booked Celtics, Bruins, work with some Idol people. So like, this stuff works, guys, is my point. And so if you want more info on that, please be sure to check out below. But in the meantime, I hope this has helped you. You can like, subscribe, comment, and that helps me to know that I'm helping you guys in order to create more content.